Sometimes on this journey I get lost in my mistakes. What looks to me like weakness is a canvas for your strength. And my story isn't over, my story's just begun. A failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Yeah, failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Arrival's not the end game, the journey's where you are. You never wanted perfect, you just wanted my heart. And the story isn't over if the story isn't good. A failure's never final when the Father's in the room. A failure's never final when the Father's in the room. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Prodigals come home, the helpless find hope. Love is on the move when the Father's in the room. Prison doors fling wide, the dead come to life. Love is on the move when the Father's in the room. Miracles take place, the cynical find faith, and love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Jericho walls are quaking, strongholds now are shaking, and love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Yeah, love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Yeah, lay your burdens down. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house.
Yes, I am really enjoying this fall thus far for a variety of reasons, and not the least of which have to do with the Arkansas Razorbacks. But again, I digress. We have to move on. To those of you that are watching us online this morning, good morning to you as well. When you came in, you probably noticed very quickly that there was something in your cup holders, and that is a paper version of what we call the worship guide. The worship guide has several things inside of it, two of which, in fact, that we're going to talk about here for the next few moments. And the first of which is a connection card. Connection card in that paper version of the worship guide looks something like this. You don't have to fill your connection card out on paper, however, because, hey, we're a digital church. You can go to the online worship guide at stuttgartharvestchurch.com, and at the very top of the page, you'll find a place to click Online Worship Guide, and that will immediately take you to the online connection card. Regardless of how you do choose to fill out your connection card this morning, however, we do encourage everyone, fill one of those babies out, not just one per family, one per person. If you're here worshiping with us, if you're watching us right now live on Facebook or YouTube, fill out that connection card. Let us know what's going on in your life. Let us know prayer requests. Let us know maybe you want to sign up for a small group. You want to sign up for the pumpkin patch. Just communicate with us, and the best way to do that is through that connection card. Whether you're using the paper version or the online version, doesn't matter. We just encourage everyone to do that. In fact, right now, it is so important that we're going to hit the pause button here for just a second and begin filling out the information side of the connection card. So again, the paper version looks like this. If you have never filled one of these out before, then just give us the information you're comfortable giving us. You don't have to give us everything. But if you are willing to give us some of that information, specifically name, maybe a good contact email, phone number, not that we're going to be bothering you this week. We're not going to come knocking on your door this week. We're not going to do that. That's simply for our uses so that we can, we have things going on. We can let you know about it. If you have filled one of these out before and there's nothing to change, then just put your name on the connection card. If there's information to update, just check that box that says update my contact information, or if you're doing it online, whether watching or using your smart device right now, then just check the box that says update my contact information. But it is so important. We're going to hit the pause button. Taylor's going to turn the music up in the back. I'm going to fill mine out up here, and you guys can start that as well, and then we will continue with our welcome after that. You guys can continue filling out that connection card. Don't stop on my account, but I do want to mention the other thing that is inside of your worship guide this morning, the other thing that you can find by going to the online worship guide at stuttgartharvestchurch.com, and that is the giving envelope. The giving envelope looks something like this. If you're a guest with us this morning, however, this is not for you. This is not to make you feel pressured to give in any way. In fact, we say that if you're a guest with us, this is your first or second time here at Stuttgart Harvest Church, then in fact, you take this, put it aside, because it's not for you. But if you are someone who has chosen this morning, you came prepared to worship through giving, we just encourage everyone to use one of the 3 giving methods that we have. Really, the best giving method that we have at Stuttgart Harvest Church is our online giving option, which again, you can go to stuttgartharvestchurch.com, click that online worship guide, and that can get you begun, I don't think that's right. That can get you, you know what I'm trying to say. That can get you to the point where you can begin worshiping through giving. That's the best way to give. That's the way my family gives, and so we would encourage anyone willing, hey, that's a great way to do it. Another way that you can give is up on the screen right now. You can text an amount to the number 870-600-3361. Just make sure you put an S in front of that, because we need to make sure it goes to Stuttgart and not Malvern. Because, of course, right now the church in Malvern, they're doing the same thing that we are right now, which is kind of exciting. That's kind of fun to think about. But just texting that, the first time you do that, you may have a few additional prompts to go through. But once you've done it one time, it is as simple as texting an amount. Nothing to it. The third way, of course, if you still choose to do it that way, which is fine, is the paper version of the giving envelope. You can give us the information on the front side. We want to make sure you get tax credit when that time rolls around. And then at the end of our worship experience, you can drop these into the giving buckets that are located at the back of the worship theater. So that's the online worship guide. That is the paper version of the worship guide. Of course, those of you watching online's your only option, the online worship guide. I have a few things that I want to mention this morning in our welcome before we continue on with our teaching time. The first, McKinley, I'm going to try to do it in order. The first is small groups. Is that right? Small groups? Maybe. There we go. McKinley, you are so good at this. Small groups. We have our small group trimester, which for some groups begins this week. I know, for instance, for the students, if you have a student in your life, we're going to meet for the very first time Wednesday night at 5:30. And so, if you've got students in your life, we would love for them to be a part of our student ministry here at Stuttgart Harvest Church. We got a lot of great leaders that are going to be part of that. But if you want to sign up for a small group with us here this fall, the way you do it is real simple. Just pick one of those group numbers and put it on the comment section of your connection card. You say, what is a small group? Small groups are where we like to say the one another's one another, one another. It's where community takes place. It's where care happens. In fact, our kind of pithy little statement is care starts there. We cannot encourage you enough to be a part of a small group with us here at Stuttgart Harvest Church. We have 4 options. 2 in person, group 1 and group 2, Tuesday night at 6, Wednesday night at 6. And I know the Tuesday night group I think is going to start not this week but next week. And Wednesday night I believe starts this week. Then of course group number 3, that's the online group. So if you're watching us right now online and you're still not, you're kind of still social distancing and you have a reason that you can't be together with us here in the facility or in a home, then group number 3 is a wonderful option for you. Sign up for that. And then of course the students, that's group 4. We'll meet on Wednesdays at 5:30. Yeah, 5:30. And we are going to meet this week. So we would encourage you, sign up for a small group. You can do that by simply writing a group number in the comment section of your connection card. So that's the first thing. The second thing, McKinley, is the pumpkin patch that I want to talk about. Boom, McKinley, once again. It's going to be the Great Pumpkin Patch, Saturday, October the 9th, from 10 o'clock a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. Free admission. Every family that comes will get a free pumpkin. But we need more people to help. We've got about 45 people signed up, and we found out last year that we needed well over 50. So if you're willing to help us at the Pumpkin Patch this fall on October the 9th, let me know by putting that on your comment section of your connection card, and we'll get that information, and you'll be getting some information from me this week. If you've already signed up, you'll be getting more information. I sent an email out last week. If you did not get that, let me know, because you should have gotten an email from me. We're excited about that. We picked some of our little pumpkins yesterday, and we picked a lot of pumpkins. I'm not going to tell you how many yet. I'm going to talk about that in the closing because we had a little contest on Facebook asking people to guess how many pumpkins there were, and the closest person is going to get a gift basket from Stuttgart Harvest Church. I'm going to tell you in the closing who won the gift basket because we had a lot of guesses, and we had a lot of guesses that were way too low. A lot of pumpkins. So that's coming up, the Great Pumpkin Patch on October the 9th. If you're going to serve with us, you'll probably expect to be here from 9 to 3. All right, Pumpkin Patch, small groups. The third thing to mention, of course, is FX, our family. Nope, my fault, McKinley. I went in the wrong order. Yeah, that. You're like, what is that? It's going to be awesome. Guys, hey, first Monday of each month, right here in the Stuttgart Harvest Church lobby, come at 7 a.m., bring your own breakfast, and we're just going to have about 30, 45 minutes together before work to just kind of up our game as men. So if you're a man in the room, you're a teenager in the room, a male in the room watching us online, first Monday of every month, October the 3rd, 4th, whatever that first Monday, I think the 3rd. That's going to be our first time together. 7 o'clock right here. Bring your own breakfast, and we're just have about 30 minutes together. Try to catch it before lunch. So that's going to be happening the first Monday of every month. And then now, we can throw the FX up there, McKinley. Family Worship Experience is back October the 3rd, 5 o'clock. The church in Malvern and Stuttgart Harvest Church. It'll be on our Facebook pages. You can watch that. If you have a young person in your life in 252 or First Look, just watch that. It's 20 minutes. It's a great way for you to see what are they learning in 252. What are they learning in children's ministry? And it's a great way for us to combine the church and the home into this amazing, amazing experience. And so we would encourage you, watch us online. Wow, I've got a green screen thing going on there. You can watch us online October 3rd, 5 o'clock. We're going to be shooting a few elements of that, in fact, today to get ready for it. I got some ladies in here, I think they may be over there. They're excited about the Hot Wing Challenge that we're going to be doing. So anyway, that's the things I need to mention to us this morning in our live welcome. I'm excited that you're here, and I'm excited to land this series entitled Twisted, Stronger Together by Design. So let's go ahead and let's go to God in prayer, and we'll do that here in just a few moments. Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning. catch us up very, very quickly where we have been in this series entitled Twisted Stronger Together by Design. We're using our keystone verse, if you will, for this entire series. It was some ancient wisdom that comes from the book of Ecclesiastes. It was written by the third human king of Israel, a man by the name of Solomon, where in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9, 10, and 12, Solomon says that two people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone, is in real trouble. Then verse 12, a person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two who stand back to back can conquer. Three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. It's the reason we're using the rope kind of as our visual aid in this series. And so in week one of this series, we said for us to be the best version of ourselves as a follower of Jesus, and I do want to make a disclaimer, if you've not yet made the decision to begin following Jesus, then this is a really good morning for you, because you just get to sit back and see what being a follower of Jesus is supposed to look like. But in week one, we talked about how we need to twist our lives in with the voice of a Christ-chasing coach, a Christ-chasing mentor. Every single one of us, myself included. And then in week two, we said that we needed to be able to twist our lives into the voice of a Christ-chasing encourager, a real, true friend. And then we also needed to find a way to be an encourager to someone else. Not just look for someone to encourage us, but we go out and find a way to encourage others. And then last week, we said we needed to twist our lives in with a Christ-chasing individual, someone who is chasing after Jesus, who will charge ahead with us, who will do like what Jonathan's armor bearer, him and his armor bearer, Paul and Silas, and how they just went to work and they did what had to be done, and they just kind of had that mentality of, come on, let's go, let's get it done. And we need that voice in our life. And this week we're going to go in a little bit different direction, but still we're going to talk about, well, culturally today, we've kind of divided the world up into two groups. There's a lot of different subsections and there's a lot of different groupings that go on in our culture today, but we've really divided the world up into two groups. We've got good guys and we've got bad guys, right? We've divided the world up into good people and bad people. And I was taught growing up, and you probably taught your kids, and you probably hope that your kids are teaching your grandkids to chase after the good people, right? Hang out with the good people. Stay with the good group, the good crowd, the positive crowd, and to seek out the good guys and to avoid the bad. That's how I was raised. That's probably how you were raised. This is right. Do this. This is wrong. Stay away from that. The good people, they listen to Christian music. They watch good, wholesome entertainment. The bad people, they listen to Black Sabbath, right? AC/DC. Remember AC/DC back? One guy in here right now just like winced. Dustin, I know you winced on that one. I know you did. But that's what we were taught. You stay with the people who are doing good things, and you try to avoid the people that are doing bad things. We got these two groups. People trying to do good, people trying to do bad. Yes to the good, no to the bad. And we really apply that way of thinking in every area of our life. I mean, every area of our life, we have good people and bad people. Politics. Some people just thought tension right there. I felt the proverbial. But we do that with politics. I mean, the side that I personally agree with, that's the good guys, and the side that disagrees with me, we've turned that into the bad guys. If you're a Democrat, then you feel like the Republicans are evil and you're good. If you're a Republican, you feel like the Democrats are evil and you're good. We've done that. We've divided the world into good and bad, right and wrong, evil and not evil. People, no matter the side, it's us versus them. Good guys and bad guys. Religion, we've done it with religion. It doesn't matter the belief system. We're not even talking about the belief system. Christianity, Islam, Hindu. We're talking subsections within Christianity. If it's the ideology, it's the belief system that I personally agree with, that's the good guys. And everybody else, they kind of fall on the bad guys. We've done that. We want to stick with the good guys and identify and shun and stay away from the bad guys. So in this series, what we've just been trying to do is looking at twisting our lives in with other people who can make us be better as Christ followers. And we specifically talked about three very powerful, highly important voices that we need to twist our lives in. We've looked at the Christ followers from the New Covenant, some very specific ones to see how their relationships and how their lives were twisted in together. We looked at Barnabas, we looked at Paul, we've looked at Timothy, we've talked about Silas, we've talked about a lot of different examples, Paul being the centerpiece. But this last week, we're going to change up just a little bit, and we're going to try to learn from who the people that Jesus chose to twist his life in together with. We're going to try to learn from Jesus. And as often is the case with Jesus, he kind of mixes it up a little bit from the way we typically look at the world. He mixes it up a little bit. Jesus changes everything. He kind of flips the script a little bit. So we're going to jump into the Gospel of Luke this morning. And Luke, the Gospel of Luke, was written by a Greek physician by the name of Luke. He also wrote Acts. He was a Greek physician. I think we could call him a Greek historian as well. But he was a Greek physician, and he wrote this gospel, this biography of the life of Jesus. And the reason that he wrote it was very interesting. Now, Luke's gospel is different from Matthew's gospel and from John's gospel, and I believe from Mark's gospel, because I think Mark's gospel probably was the gospel of Peter, as told by Peter, very, very possibly. Luke's gospel was not a first-hand account. Matthew and John, they were first-hand primary sources. Luke is not. Luke was written from a historian's perspective. Luke went out, identified, had first-person interviews and took copious notes and very detailed notes, and he wrote an orderly account of the life of Jesus. And actually, he tells us why he did it. In the very first verse, Luke says, of Luke chapter 1, verse 1, Luke basically, and I'm kind of just paraphrasing a little, Luke said, a lot of people have tried to write an account of the life of Jesus. And this is one of them, and he actually did it for a friend of his, a wealthy friend of his, probably so that friend would become a follower of Jesus. So we're going to read Luke chapter 19 this morning. And this is going to be a story that if you have been around church at all in your life, you're going to recognize very, very quickly. Luke chapter 19, verse 1. We pick it up. It says that Luke tells us that Jesus entered Jericho, and he made his way through the town. Now, Jericho. This town's kind of like a Laguna Beach, if you will. I mean, it is 70 degrees year-round, lots of fresh water streams and springs. Jericho is the place to be. Jericho is located east of Jerusalem on the eastern border of what we think of as Israel. At that time, they would have called it Judea. And there's lots of palm trees in Jericho. There's lots of money in Jericho. Jericho's a very wealthy town in the first century, plush in every way. It was like almost a resort town for the wealthy. In fact, the governor, the king, tetrarch, whatever you want to call him, of Israel, of Judea, one of the Herods actually had a winter palace in Jericho. It was the place to be. Where money is, organized crime kind of follows. Where money goes, so goes crime. Crime kind of follows the money. And that's really the centerpiece of the story, the historical account that Luke gives us, because we move on into verse 2 and we find out that in Jericho there was a man there by the name of Zacchaeus. You're singing the song. Yeah, I know you are. You're singing the song, because I'm singing the song. I've got to focus this morning, not singing the song in my head while I'm trying to talk. And we find out that Zacchaeus was the chief tax collector in the region, and he had become very rich. So Zacchaeus is the chief tax collector in a very wealthy part of Israel. Right now, you're singing the Wee Little Man song, right? Zacchaeus was if you're not, you should be. Zacchaeus was a wee little man. And a wee little man was he. What did he do? He climbed up, There it is. I heard it. He was a wee little man. But honestly, we have done Zacchaeus a little bit of a disservice with that song. A little bit. No pun intended. Because while, yes, he was small in stature, Zacchaeus was not a wee little businessman. He was not the song makes him out to just be this little sneaky, kind of swarthy guy. But the truth of the matter is that's wrong. Zacchaeus, while he was small in size, he was huge in reputation. Zacchaeus was a big deal as the chief tax collector. Zacchaeus was almost like a gangster. Yeah, right? I mean, so it's almost like we could call him Dirty Z, okay? Zacchaeus, he was a legal criminal. What he was doing was legal, but man, was it wrong. I mean, so we're talking Dirty Z here is a thief. He is an extortionist in his everyday life. He's like working for the IRS, but the IRS has gone bad and crooked. And I know some of you right now are like, well, that's already bad. No, it really was bad and crooked. in the first century, the way the system was worked out. The way the system was worked out, so Zacchaeus, Dirty Z, he would collect taxes for the oppressive army, the oppressive empire, Rome, that was in control of Judea. And Rome didn't really give a rip how much he collected as long as he paid the bill. So if Rome wanted $100, as long as Rome got their $100, they didn't care what Zacchaeus did. And so he was very wealthy because he would extort the people. That's what the tax collectors were doing. Zacchaeus is the chief tax collector in this area. Now, Zacchaeus was Jewish. He was Jewish, but he had given up on God. And he had kind of thrown his lot in with money, if you will. Money which, by the way, supported the oppressive army that was in camp, that was in place in Judea and oppressing the Hebrews, the Jews. And anything that he could extort, he would keep it. And that's how he became rich. It would kind of like be like a Jewish person working for Hitler during the Holocaust. That's the best parallel that I can give you as to the way people would look at Zacchaeus, this individual, this bad person. He's not on the good side. He's on the bad side, the way we look at it. Jews, they hated this Jewish traitor. They hated this guy because he was a traitor. He was extorting money to support this oppressive army. As chief tax collector, he was at the top of the food chain with these gangsters, with these legal criminals. He's at the top. He's like the boss, you know, if you're into like, you know, the Godfathers. He's the boss. He's at the top of the line. And he was hated as a result of it. But he was also feared because if you had a run-in with Zacchaeus, he could take everything you had. He could ruin your life. He was also very rich. Zacchaeus had the best food. And this is in a time period where what you're going to eat the next day was a very significant concern. Zacchaeus had the best. He had the best food. He had the best houses. He had the best camel Burghini. I'm sorry. Harley put that in there. That was a Harley joke. But y'all get my point, all right? Zacchaeus, some scholars think that Zacchaeus might have been one of, or possibly the wealthiest individual in the New Testament. Now, we don't know that, but he was very wealthy. Zacchaeus had a lot. See, this connection that Jesus is going to make with this bad dude, and he was going to twist his life in with the life of this bad dude, it's not really the same as like Jesus going after a prostitute. You know? Because, hey, a prostitute in that era, in that culture, at that time period, really had nowhere else to go, nowhere else to turn, nowhere else. That was it. So people kind of can understand, or could understand, at that time period specifically, Jesus being kind to a prostitute and Jesus seeking out a prostitute. But not this guy, not Zacchaeus, not Dirty Z. We're talking about a thief, an extortionist, a traitor. Not this guy. You can twist your life into the life of a prostitute, Jesus, but not into the life of a bad man like Zacchaeus. I mean, this guy didn't just sin. This guy ruined the lives of the people that he came into contact with. He ruined their lives. He was a traitor. So we pick up the account that Luke gives us in verse 3, and he says that Zacchaeus tried to get a look at Jesus. And as I'm reading this verse, you're going to sing the song, and it's okay, because this is where the song comes from. He tried to get a look at Jesus, but he was too short to see over the crowd. So he ran ahead, and he climbed a sycamore fig tree beside the road, for Jesus was going to pass by that way. So I'm going to give you a minute. Get the song out of your head. All right, now, don't miss this. Don't miss this. By this time in Jesus' ministry, at this point in his earthly ministry, Jesus is famous. I mean, Jesus is like a celebrity. When Jesus is coming to your town, word travels. Because people know what Jesus has done, what he said. He's raised people from the dead. Jesus is a celebrity. He comes into your town, you know it, you're ready for it, and you want to see him. There's a group of people everywhere he goes. I mean, Jesus is famous by this point in his ministry. And we find out in verse 5 that when Jesus came by, he came by literally the sycamore tree, the fig tree, the tree that this little guy, but bad dude, has climbed into. It says that Jesus came by and he looked up at Zacchaeus and he called him by name. Now, that's pretty cool. It's a total stranger. Jesus is a total stranger. He's from out of town. He's from Galilee. That's pretty good ways to the north of Jericho. He stops. He looks up at Zacchaeus, and he knows his name. He calls his name. He seeks him out. He says, Zacchaeus, come down. Quick, come down. I must be a guest in your home today. Now, for you and I, that verse, at least for me, I don't want to speak for you guys, but for me, that verse can kind of run over my head a little bit. Because for me, in my culture, in the place that I live, in the time that I live, someone going to someone else's house, not that big of a deal. But in the first century, in the Jewish culture, Jesus saying, I want to go to your house, is Jesus saying to Zacchaeus, this bad man, this evil traitor, he's saying, I want a relationship with you, Zacchaeus. Being in someone's house in the first century was a huge deal. That was a big deal. It was a sign of friendship. It was a sign of connection. It was a sign of Jesus saying, I want you, no matter what other people say about you. Other people's reaction at that time period, the crowd that was around and heard Jesus say that, they would have said, what? Gee, a prostitute? Okay, maybe. But this guy, come on. Are you kidding me, Jesus? Are you kidding me? You're going to twist your life into the life of this guy? Be like Jesus going into Hugh Hefner's home today, right? I mean, I guess that guy's dead, but you get the point. It's a big deal in this culture. So Zacchaeus, according to Luke, quickly climbs down out of the tree, takes Jesus to his house in great excitement and joy. We're going to have several big points that we're trying to make this morning, and here's the first one. This is the first big point. Your sin, my sin, Zacchaeus' sin, did not keep Jesus from seeking him out. Zacchaeus' sin did not keep Jesus from walking by that tree, looking in that tree, calling Zacchaeus by name and saying, I want you. Same for me. It's the same for you. My sin does not keep Jesus from seeking me out. It did not keep him from seeking me out. So if we were to land that at the front door of Stuttgart Harvest Church, what does that mean? That means other people's decisions, their sin, their mistakes, their choices can't keep us from seeking those people out either. Even if we have them kind of corralled in the bad category, like Zacchaeus was corralled in his day. Can't keep us from seeking them out either. See, Dirty Z, he is characterized, or we characterize him by we, but he was not characterized by we. Dirty Z was characterized by wicked. He was a bad dude. But Jesus still said to him, I want a relationship with you. I want a connection with you. I seek you out. Zacchaeus was interested. As bad as he was, he showed interest. Our second big point, there is no sin that will keep Jesus away from seeking us. There's not one. Say, you just don't know what I've done, what I've said, how I've acted, how I've reacted, the choices. You just don't know, man. It's not anywhere. Zacchaeus was a bad dude by that day's standard. There's no sin that will keep Jesus from seeking you, because there was no sin that kept Jesus from seeking me or Zacchaeus. He knows it all. Jesus knows everything. He knows everything I've done, everything I've said, everything I've thought. Y'all know what I'm talking about there. He knows. And he still wanted a relationship with me. So for us, where do we land at the door of Stuttgart Harvest Church? What does that say about how we should view people? How we should love people? What should keep us from seeking people? Should anything? Third big point. Some of us think that we aren't all that bad, especially compared to them. Again, we have that cultural mentality of we have the good pile and we have the bad pile, and I happen to be on the good pile. We have that mentality. We have this idea of it's us, good, them, bad, terrorists, serial killers, conservatives, liberals, whatever, They're bad, and I'm good. But see, the Bible never teaches that. The Bible never teaches that there's a good pile and a bad pile. The Bible actually teaches, the New Covenant teaches, Jesus taught, Paul wrote, that there's really only one good. The good pile is really lonely because there is only one good person, and that was Jesus. Everyone else is over here in the bad pile. I'm in the bad pile. But the one good, Jesus, he died for everyone in the bad. Everybody. Me, you, those of us watching online, Zacchaeus. The one good died for all of the bad. Jesus basically said, hey, I came for sinners. And the only way that you can have a relationship with me, Jesus, is you've got to acknowledge that, in fact, you are a sinner. You are bad. You are not good. That's the only way this relationship can move forward. Look at it like this. I think of all the things I'm going to say this morning, I think this is maybe fleshes it out as good as anything. The gap between me and Adolf Hitler is much smaller than the gap between me and Jesus. I mean, we're talking Adolf Hitler, the man that did the Holocaust, 6 million Jews, and many more than just the 6 million Jews. The Holocaust was 6 million Jews. The gap between me and that guy is much smaller than the gap between me and Jesus. See, Jesus did not come to be the friend of everyone and also sinners. Jesus is only friends with sinners. Because that's all of us. There's Jesus. He's perfect. He's good. And then there's everybody else. And I'm in the same pile with Zacchaeus. We're all on the same level. We're all bad. We're all sinners. And amazingly, we don't, it's not the point this morning. We don't have time to stay here long, but amazingly, it's only a person like Zacchaeus who is a candidate to have a relationship with Jesus. It's only a person who is like Zacchaeus that can have a relationship with Jesus. But see, the crowd in the first century, 2,000 years ago, the crowd that Luke tells us about, the crowd totally missed it. They totally missed what is happening between this relationship with Jesus and Zacchaeus. They missed the whole thing because they only see us good, him bad. They only see the good and bad. They only see Jesus twisting his life in together with a bad person. They totally missed it. In fact, Luke tells us, they say in verse 7, but the people were displeased. They said, he is gone to be the guest of a notorious sinner. They grumbled. Did you see what Jesus did? He's going to be the guest in a home, which is a big deal, of a notorious sinner. You've heard of the notorious B.I.G., right? I mean, come on. Come on. This is the dirty Z. Zacchaeus, he's the notorious W-E-E. I'm going to give y'all a minute on that one. Y'all got it? That's good, wasn't it? I mean, everyone knows who Zacchaeus is. They've all heard of him. They know his story. They know his background. And they think, Jesus, we have earned your love. We have earned this relationship. We have earned this connection. We have earned you inviting yourself to our house. Zacchaeus hadn't paid his dues. He's not even close. But that's a short trip to hell. Because Jesus says that there are no exceptions to the kind of person that he will accept. He only accepts sinners. Sinners who say, I can't be good enough. I can't work hard enough. Sinners who will say, Jesus, I know you died for me. Even though I didn't deserve it, you died for me. And then 3 days later, you walked out of the tomb for my sins so that I can be forgiven. He did that for me. So we move on to verse 8. It says, meanwhile, so some time has passed. We do not know how much time. Could have been minutes, could have been hours, could have been days. We don't know. We just know some time has passed in this relationship between Jesus and Zacchaeus. Meanwhile, Zacchaeus stood before the Lord and said, I'll give half of my wealth to the poor, Lord, and if I've cheated people on their taxes, I will give them back 4 times as much. See, Jesus seeks out Zacchaeus. Jesus comes into Jericho, very wealthy city, very populous city, and Jesus seeks out a little short guy, a really bad short guy, short, who was in a tree. Sought him out. He looked in that tree, he called Zacchaeus by name, and he went to his house. And because Jesus sought him out, Zacchaeus responded to Jesus seeking him. He responded. Something has happened in this relationship. Jesus offers no condemnation. He offers no rejection. He offers no shame. Jesus knows who Zacchaeus is. He knows exactly what Zacchaeus has done, and yet Jesus still seeks the relationship, no matter how bad the culture thinks he is, Zacchaeus. And the result of that seeking, Zacchaeus changes because of that relationship. Everything changes for Zacchaeus. Everything changes because Jesus sought him out, and he responded. So here's a big point. Love, not laws, lead to change. Love, not laws, lead to change. Let me see if I can explain that better. Jesus did not give Zacchaeus a list of rules. Jesus did not give Zacchaeus a bunch of boxes that he was expected to check, or necessarily even a certain prayer to pray. Jesus didn't give Zacchaeus a list of rules and a list of laws. The rules didn't change Zacchaeus. Love did. Try to flesh that out a little bit. If I came to you, let me put it this way. If you came to me this morning and you pointed out a random person this morning in this room, watching online, you're just going to have to imagine you're here. And you pointed out a random person in this room this morning and you said to me, hey, I want you to go over and I want you to have a relationship with that person, but here's the deal. There are a certain list of rules that you have to follow to enter into a relationship with that person. There's a certain box, some certain boxes you have to check. There's some certain laws you have to follow, certain rules. You have to, if you want to have a relationship with that person, you want to connect with that person, you have to treat them a certain way. You have to have a certain posture when you approach them in their presence. You have to bow this low. Don't look them in the eye. Treat them like a God. Now go do it. Go connect. No way. Are you kidding me? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because they're so impressive and so special that there's a certain amount of rules that I don't want to have a relationship with that person. I wouldn't go. You wouldn't either. Because a list of rules signifying someone as special or signifying something like that does not make me want to change the way that I respond to that person. But what if my hero walked in the door? What if that person that you consider your, you've always said, who would you have, if you had one, if you could invite 3 people to a meal, who would they be? The people around that table. What if my hero walked through the door? What if your hero walked through the door? That's a different story. That's a different deal there. We'll trip all over ourselves to try to get close to our heroes. Why? Because we want a relationship. Because there's a connection. There's an admiration. There's a respect. There's a love. We'll do whatever it takes. I'm moved to the point where I'll act stupid or I'll fumble all over myself. There's a genuine change in my behavior to that person. Is it because of the rules? No. Is it because of the laws? No. The motivator is not the law. The motivator is love. Because I love that person. I want to be connected to that person. The motivator is love. Your love for them, my want to be close to them. Jesus is the hero. And my love for Jesus should cause me to trip all over myself to be near him. Not some rules, because of love, genuine love. And I know that my sin gets in the way of me being able to have a relationship with Jesus. And because I love him and because I want that relationship with him, what do? I try to get over it. I try to get away from it when it latches onto me. I confess it and I get it out of the way because we want a connection with our hero. That's what Zacchaeus experienced. Zacchaeus experienced love. He didn't experience a law. He didn't experience rules. He experienced love. See, again, if we land that at the front door of Stuttgart Harvest Church, the practical application that we can take away from that is this. Does this organism, this group of people known as Stuttgart Harvest Church, do we want to open the door of relationship between Jesus and other people, our hero? Do we want to do that? The door always opens with love. That's what Jesus used with me. That's what Jesus used with Zacchaeus. And that's what we have to use as well. That leads us to our next big point. We have to develop relationships. In our circles of influence, we have to develop relationships. We have to do it on purpose. Because love opens the door for us to have the opportunity to walk that person toward a relationship with Jesus. But love opens the door. This is how Jesus responded. He said, salvation has come to this home today, for this man has shown himself to be a true son of Abraham. Salvation. See, salvation isn't a list of steps. It's not a bunch of rules. It's not a lot of obligations. Salvation is simply found in the person of Jesus. And that person showed up at Dirty Z's house. He showed up. And Zacchaeus responded. And Zacchaeus entered into a relationship with Jesus, and Zacchaeus received salvation as a result. And then Jesus says this in verse 10, and I think the implications for us are huge. He says in verse 10, he says, for the Son of Man, Jesus came to this earth. He says he came for two purposes. He came to seek and save those who are lost. Seek and save those who are lost. Salvation is not a list of steps that have to be followed. It's not a bunch of laws or rules. It's a person. It's Jesus. But practically speaking, Jesus left this earth 2,000 years ago. He did. 40 days after his resurrection, Jesus ascended into heaven, and he won't be back for, I don't know when. We don't know when. We got some ideas. In fact, if you want to know more about that, you can be a part of the Wednesday night small group. But he left. He's not on this earth. And so the responsibility of introducing people to Jesus, it now falls on us. It now falls on you. It now falls on living organisms like Stuttgart Harvest Church. It's now our responsibility to walk people into a relationship with Jesus via love. Walking people to the person of salvation. Because Jesus said very clearly, I came to seek the lost. Every single one of them. I came to seek every single one of them. Zacchaeus, he sought him out. He sought me out. Jesus said, I came to seek every single person who is lost. And he came to save the lost as well. Every single one who, like Zacchaeus, will admit, yeah, I'm lost. And I need you. Yes, I'm in need of a Savior. Yes, I'm in need of forgiveness. Jesus said, I will save every single one that recognizes they are in fact lost. If they aren't lost in their own eyes, well then he's not going to save them. If they can't admit it, he has nothing for them. But he seeks them all. He seeks everybody. 1 Timothy tells us that God desires that everyone be saved. Everyone. So he seeks them all, but he only saves the ones that admit that they're lost. The people who don't think they're lost, well, they're never going to be found. Every person who has ever admitted that they were lost, he's found them. And he saved them. So again, put it at the front door of Stuttgart Harvest Church. What does that mean for us? What does that mean for me? What does that mean for you? What does that mean for you watching us online if you're a part of this living organism called Stuttgart Harvest Church? Here are the implications, and I think they're huge. Since by his design, people are introduced to Jesus through relationships, well then, big point, Jesus knows who will ultimately admit they are lost. But we don't. We don't have a clue. So we have to seek them all. Even if we've cordoned them off into the bad pile. Jesus knows who will ultimately admit that they are lost in need of a Savior, of a hero. But we don't know. So we've just got to seek them all. We don't know if the people that we are seeking through the different ministries and and we're talking Stuttgart Harvest Church, but I'm just talking about you individual and your personal circle of influence, the people that you seek out a relationship with to walk them eventually to a relationship with Jesus. We have no idea if they're ever going to admit that, yes, in fact, I'm lost and in need of a Savior. We don't know. This is what Charles Spurgeon said. This was written about a year. This was in a book that he wrote about a year before he died. Charles Spurgeon said this, and I think the implications for Stuttgart Harvest Church are huge. Charles Spurgeon said, a church, as we are, is a soul-saving organization, or it is nothing. If the salt exercises no preserving influence on that which surrounds it, what use is there for it? What is the use of it? So all of that leads us to our bottom line as it pertains and as it applies to Stuttgart Harvest Church. Our bottom line is this: we seek them so that we can begin a relationship with them through love. I'm going to add that. It's not in the bottom line. I'm going to add it. Through love, so that we can walk them eventually to a relationship with Jesus. We just act toward them with love, the love of Jesus. Everybody. The people that we have cordoned over here on the good pile, which actually only has one person in it anyway, and everybody in the bad pile. We just act toward everybody with love. And over the course of time, we let them decide whether or not they are willing to admit they're lost. We don't give them a list of, a handout, a set of handouts, or a list of rules. We simply give people a hand of kindness and friendship. We don't ask them to whitewash their lives. We help them wash their car. We don't ask them to be better or do better. We actually freely admit that we can't be good enough either. We're lost. We don't condemn them. We serve them at Stuttgart Harvest Church. We enter into a relationship with them and we serve them. We open that door of relationship. And the doorknob that turns the door open is love. It's love. That's the doorknob that's going to open the door. Now, Jesus knows who is ultimately going to choose and what they're ultimately going to choose. We have no idea. We do not know. So we are going to just continually turn the doorknob. One person at a time, one relationship at a time, one act of service at a time, in love, and then they'll make the choice. But we're going to keep seeking them out day after day after day after day, event after event, opportunity after opportunity. We're just going to keep turning that doorknob using love. Because we seek them to start a relationship with them, to walk them toward Jesus. We don't predetermine if they will or they won't, because we don't know. Jesus just said to us, go, seek the lost, and then he'll save the ones who admit it. So as we land this series this morning, as we wrap this series up, week number 4, Twisted, Stronger by Design, God's design. What we've talked about this morning, that's truth. But what do we do with it? How do we apply it to our week? Well, we've got a couple of next steps that we would encourage you to take this week. In the context of what we've talked about this morning, and really what we talked about all month, but specifically what we've talked about this morning. Every follower of Jesus, you're a follower of Jesus. If you've made that decision to make Jesus the boss of your life, then this is you. Every follower of Jesus, we should always, always, always be investing into a relationship with someone who is not yet following Jesus, for the purpose of walking them eventually toward Jesus. So who is that person in your life? Who is it? Who's that person in your life? Be intentional with that relationship. You say, wait a second, I don't really think I have that relationship right now. I don't really know who that is in my circle of influence right now. Then we would go find that person. Go find that person. That's what Jesus did. Jesus twisted his life into the life of a bad, traitorous, thief, extortionist extraordinaire by the name of Zacchaeus. He twisted his life into the life of Zacchaeus. When everyone else said no, he looked up in a tree, he called him by name, he went to his house, because Jesus twisted his life in with the life of Zacchaeus. We would encourage you this week, the next few weeks, go find your Zacchaeus. Serve your Zacchaeus. Be intentional in that relationship with that person. And then be ready to share the reason that you have hope with your Zacchaeus. That's why we're here. That's why Stuttgart Harvest Church exists. Because if that's not the reason, if that's not happening in this living organism called Stuttgart Harvest Church, Charles Spurgeon said it the best. A church is a soul-saving company, a soul-saving organization, or it's nothing. If the salt exercises no preserving influence on that which it surrounds, what is the use of it? Let's pray. God, we come to you one more time.
secret place where I see your face. Will you take me there again? You can search my heart from the deepest part, from the beginning to the end. To you my eyes are lifted. To you my prayer is rising up. You captured my attention. Consume me, consume me. God, give me a heart abandoned, ever after you alone. Gold and silver you can take. All I want is you, my Lord. You can have my soul, just like Jericho. Come and tear down my walls. I am in your hands. You are the promised land. You're the king of my heart. To you my eyes are lifted. To you my prayer is rising up. You captured my attention. Consume me, consume me. God, give me a heart abandoned, ever after you alone. Gold and silver you can take. All I want is you, my Lord. When I've been a fool, when I hid from you, still you call out my name. When my flesh is weak, will you help me see that you were all that I need? You were all that I need. God, give me a heart abandoned, ever after you alone. Gold and silver you can take. All I want is you, my Lord. God, give me a heart abandoned, ever after you alone. Gold and silver you can take. All I want is you, my Lord. The weapon may be formed, but it won't prosper. When the darkness falls, it won't prevail. 'Cause the God I serve knows only how to triumph. My God will never fail. Oh, my God will never fail. I'm gonna sing the victory. I'm gonna sing the victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna sing the victory. I'm gonna sing the victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. Every war he wages, he will win. I'm not backing down from any giant. 'Cause I know how this story ends. I'm gonna sing the victory. I'm gonna sing the victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna sing the victory. I'm gonna sing the victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. I'm gonna sing the victory. I'm gonna sing the victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna sing the victory. I'm gonna sing the victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna sing the victory. I'm gonna sing the victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna sing the victory. I'm gonna sing the victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord.
All right. Sorry, I was getting me a drink. Thank y'all so much for coming. Thanks for being a part of what we're doing here at Stuttgart Harvest Church. We are not a church that thinks we have all the answers, but we do know where a lot of the answers are found, and we're excited to always have the opportunity to teach that and then not just to teach it and to just talk about it here on Sunday mornings at 10:30, which is awesome. Love doing that. But we just encourage all of our people, go out and live what we're teaching and make it practical, make it applicatory in our everyday life as we try to take these relationships through love and through service and have the opportunity to lead people to Jesus, through a relationship with Jesus. That's what Jesus did. And that's what we're going to do, and that's what we hope we're doing. So I'm grateful that you guys decided to worship with us this morning. Don't forget a few things: pumpkin patch, small groups, FX, and the first Monday of every month, 7 o'clock, bring your own breakfast. And we're going to have a great time with the guys and as we just grow and kind of up in our game as men. So I think that's all I need to mention. Oh, food pantry, very, very quickly. Since we're kind of getting back into the facility and things are beginning to get back to normal, our food pantry is actually been dwindling for obvious reasons. We haven't been using it. But if you have any type of non-perishables or canned foods or anything like that, you'd be willing to bring up and put that in the food pantry, we'd be grateful. That'd be awesome because we are definitely wanting to get back on track with that. So with that being said, if you have not already hit submit on your online connection cards on the online version of the connection card, I would encourage you to go ahead and do that. Now's the time, and don't forget, if you use the paper version, just drop them in those giving buckets at the back of the worship theater. I'd love to get to say hello, goodbye, whatever, to everyone this morning, anyone that will, so I'll be kind of moseying around out through there. But I hope you guys have an awesome week. Love to see you next week here at Stuttgart Harvest Church as we begin a brand new series for the month of October. So if you would, one more time, let's go to God in prayer.
Cole.
Hey,
Cole.
hey.
Who won the pumpkin count?
Oh, Beth texted me that. Hold on. All right, hold on. Thank you. See, I get too far ahead of myself. All right, Beth, here we go. All right, so the winner guessed, so if it's actually not someone here this morning, so someone watching online, so you're going to have to get this information. I'll let this person know. The winner guessed, the one who's closest to the number, is the number 647. That's the closest. So those of you that are like in the 200s, you're not even close. 647. The actual number, we pulled 737 of little bitty pumpkins out there yesterday. They're out there. Go look at them. They're amazing. I'm all cut up from it. 737 pumpkins. The winner of the gift basket is George McGonigal. So, George McGonigal, you're the one that got it right. We'll get in touch with you this week. But thank you guys for guessing. And those of you that guessed in the 200s, not even close. Not even close. But I wouldn't have guessed 737 either. So I'll be the first. I was shocked when I was counting. I was like, wow, I'm so shocked. But thank you guys for being a part of that. Pumpkin Patch October 9th. Free admission. Invite. This is a great way for us to begin moving people into a relationship with Jesus through love and service. And this is a great opportunity for us to do that October 9, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Free admission. Free pumpkin for everyone that comes, assuming those things don't rot before I get them out. So anyway, we good? Is that everything? All right, that's everything. So I'm going to pray for us and have a great week. Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning.
Thank you.